In this two-part series, you'll learn about the new Node-RED feature in Rational Application Developer. Before demonstrating the new features, I'll provide a brief overview of Node-RED. However, Node-RED knowledge is assumed and is not the focus of this demo. The focus is on the integration of Node-RED in Rational Application Developer. As defined on the official Node-RED website, Node-RED is a programming tool for wiring together hardware devices, APIs, and online services in new and interesting ways. Node-RED is used to create IoT applications. Node-RED is built using JavaScript, runs on a Node.js-based runtime, and therefore runs in a web browser. The Node-RED browser-based editor is a visual representation. Everything can be dragged from a palette without the need for coding. If needed, the option to code is available by creating nodes or adding additional logic to existing nodes. It is flow-based programming, meaning that it's a network of connected nodes in which each node has a specific purpose. A node is given data, it does something with the data, and then passes the data to another node. Let's see what all this means by opening the Node-RED browser-based editor. In a new tab, I'll open the URL localhost:1880. 1880 is the default port to the local server that's running Node-RED. This is the Node-RED browser-based editor. Before diving into the Node-RED browser-based editor, let's take a look at the Rational Application Developer Node-RED editor view. To open the Node-RED editor view, go to Window, Show View, Node-RED Editor. This is the Node-RED editor view. It's a standard Eclipse view that contains a selection box with a configurable list of URLs. Below the selection box, you have the Node-RED browser-based editor embedded into the view. Notice that the URL in the selection box is pointing to localhost and port 1880, which is the same URL I used in the browser. This means we're pointing to the Node-RED server that's running locally. In part 2, I'll explain what it means to have a local running instance of the Node-RED server. Now I'll demonstrate the embedded Node-RED browser-based editor. On the left-hand side is the palette, which contains nodes. A node is a predefined function or method that performs a defined set of operations. For example, there's an HTTP node that's an endpoint for creating web services. There's also an IBM IoT node. This node connects to the Watson IoT platform to receive data from IoT devices. The Debug Node displays the output of other nodes. Debug information is displayed in the Debug sidebar tab located on the right side. In the center of the view is a flow named mySentimentFlow. A flow contains a set of nodes to perform a procedure. I have already created a flow with multiple nodes. The two nodes on the left are inject nodes. When pressed, they inject a string. The first node injects the string, I feel happy today. The second node injects the string, I feel sad today. The node in the middle is the sentiment node. It takes the text given to it, in this case the text from the inject node, and assigns a sentiment score from -5 to +5. A score greater than 0 is positive and less than 0 is negative. The two debug nodes are on the right. These display the strings from the inject nodes and the score from the sentiment node. Let's see this in action. I'll press the happy node. The output is displayed in the debug tab. The inject output debug node displays the I feel happy string. The sentiment debug node displays the sentiment score. For this example, the score is 3. The positive number makes sense because feeling happy is a positive statement. If I press the sad node, I get a different output with the new string and sentiment score. This flow was created in advance to save time, but I'll briefly demonstrate how to create a portion of it. First, find the inject node in the palette and drag it to the flow. Next, search for the sentiment node and drag that one. Then, search for a debug node and drag it to the flow. Once the nodes are added to the flow, wire them together. Double-click the debug node. Edit the output field and click Done. Double-click the inject node. In the payload field, change the timestamp option to string and enter I feel happy today. Click Done. Now that the nodes are configured and wired together, click Deploy to deploy to the server. Now you can run the flow. When you inject the happy node, you get a sentiment output of 3. The inject node can be replaced with other nodes, such as the Twitter node that connects to your Twitter feed. For example, processing the sentiment of business tweets can give insight into what customers are saying about a product. That concludes part 1 of the Node-RED overview.